What is this? $250 on candles? Are you serious?
I mean, why are you clocking my money though? Like, didn't you just go out and spend almost $250 on drinks with the boys?
I mean, that was a business meeting.
Why didn't it come out the business account?
I mean,
yeah, I mean,
I was gonna transfer money over.
Mm-hmm.
Dang.
Well, that's my money.
This?
Yeah, that's my money. Yes.
We have goals. We got goals. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Moving up with the Miclettes.
Moving on up.
Mm-hmm. I'm Joseph.
And I'm Sherri.
And what we talking about today?
Today we are discussing how to get your partner on the same page financially so you can meet your goals.
Dropping gems on them.
So trying to combine a household and deal with the finances, that can be a major issue when combining them, correct? So if you're not on the same page with your partner, it can lead to a lot of issues, divorce, fights, arguments,
stress,
things like that, stress,
lack of intimacy,
non-communication, things of the sort. How would you ask, from the male's perspective, your partner, your spouse, in regards to finances, can we get on the same page? Like, why are you spending so much money? How would you go about that?
I think it applies to both male and female, both of the spouses. I think one of the first steps that can be taken is to sit down and talk about creating a vision.
Gotta have a goal.
Gotta have a goal. Gotta have a vision.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it could take couples a number of years, and sometimes it could be immediate, right? But
or sometimes never.
Or sometimes.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
That's real. But I think just having this idea of, hey, in 3 years, where do we see ourselves? In 5 years, where do we see ourselves? In 10, 20, 50 years, where do we see ourselves? And I think once you're able to establish that vision, then you're able to create a plan of attack. Thinking about the future while still trying to handle things in the present. And that's really hard. It's really challenging. We've shared our story about, not investing when we were in our 20s and not investing when we were in our early 30s because we thought that every single cent we needed. But in reality, we were spending a lot of those cents
on frivolous stuff.
There you go. Once you can sit down and really create a plan, that's a good start. Yeah. But I also think that having that conversation can be really challenging.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's imperative to kind of have this conversation before you combine your finances. So, if you're going to get married, if you're not going to get married, whatever the case. But once you combine your finances, I think that's something that should have been discussed. Yeah. You kind of should have learned the person's spending habits to see like, okay, well, do we even want to combine our finances? Like, I kind of see how this person spends. I kind of see how this person doesn't save. I kind of see how this person is not thinking about the future and investing. So identifying your financial goals with your partner, that is a major tip, a major step that you should definitely take.
Yeah. And that's not to say that we were perfect in that, because it's kind of funny. We were both in the same position together on the opposite side of that, right? Yeah.
So like you said, once you just establish your financial goal, then create your plan of attack. Yeah. So, figuring out what you're going to do with your money, how you're going to spend it, how you're going to save it, invest it, things like that. Whether or not, okay, let's go ahead and set our own financial plans for ourselves. Let's go ahead and get a financial planner. Just establishing what you're going to do with your money for your future. It's a bonus.
And that includes doing research. I think that when we were younger, the only research that we really thought of doing was talking to other people. And sometimes the people that we talked to gave us just a little bit of information, but we didn't sit down and be like, yo, tell me more. Yeah. And because so many of our friends actually were in the same situation as us, we were not really exposed to something that other people were doing, and we were kind of all in the same boat together, right?
Yeah.
Dating, getting married, buying a house, starting a family. Everybody was kind of doing the same thing at the same time, right? And that's not a bad thing. That's just where we were.
Yeah.
And so I think once you get to a certain point in your life that you're like, yo, we gotta turn some things around. We gotta change some things. Let's sit down and talk about this. That's when you can create some sort of awareness and start doing the research and start talking to those individuals that can actually spit some game to you that's going to actually put you in a position in the future where you're going to be better off.
Having realistic expectations for yourself as well as for your partner. So you can't expect someone just to not spend money. It just doesn't work that way. You know, and we've over the years have kind of come to somewhat of an agreement, I guess, or just
an understanding.
Yeah, an understanding because we have goals and because there's certain things we want to do by a certain point. Okay, so look, let's go ahead and set this budget for ourselves. Each person, you know, there might be months that we go over a little bit, but I think we're both very conscientious of how much we're spending on, you know, where our money is going. So I think when you have both people kind of on the same page, knowing like, okay, look, we have our goals, but I can spend this money and I don't have to feel like, you know, somebody's trying to hold me back or somebody's trying to take my money or manage my money. And, you know, you don't have that resentment there. So as long as you're talking to your partner and you're communicating and not putting blame on someone when they spend money or kind of go over a little bit, then that's the key.
Also, just using your own discretion, you know, like, do I really need this?
Yeah. Do I need to spend $200 on candles? I mean, I love candles. We both love candles,
hey,
you know?
I'm not going to lie. I love me some candles.
So,
you know?
I mean, once in a while, maybe? No.
But I think at the end of the day, right, it's like you really sit back and you're like, okay, what is the goal? How is this going to affect my goal, right? And like you said, once you're more conscious of it, you're able to start making those decisions by yourself without even having to have the conversation with your partner or your significant other or your spouse in that case, because you know what's best. You know that this is going to have an impact. And if you do make that purchase, first thing you do is have that conversation, right? Like, babe, I spent a little bit more than I expected today. I spent like $75 more, but it was on this, you know? And just having that conversation instead of trying to act like, well,
it's my money.
Yeah, it's my money.
I can do with it what I want.
Exactly.
You know, but I mean, as long as you're conscious of it, you know, the thing is, if your accounts are combined, you spending over $75 could potentially mess up the budget for the rest of the month. So you just thinking like, well, it's my money, I spend it how I want. Okay, but when you have a household and, you know, two people are trying to work towards a household, work towards the goals, if you're just thinking about yourself, then that could potentially mess up the whole budget, and then that's when fights will happen. That's when disagreements will happen.
And that's when someone's going to be blamed. And someone's going to get some feelings hurt. And someone's going to be upset. And people ain't going to want to talk. And then you're going to be real unhappy for about a couple days.
Yeah. You know, we've had a couple of those. Like, having these conversations, that leads to having monthly financial meetings or weekly or however you want to set it up. Just as long as you are coming together to discuss what is important and what you want to do with your money, you know? So as long as you're on the same page with that.
And I think having the monthly meetings is an opportunity for you to check in with each other. And also hold yourselves accountable.
Accountability.
And hold each other accountable, right? Because you know that your spending and your purchasing is going to have an impact on your spouse, and it's going to have an impact on your relationship. It's going to have an impact on your goal that you may have for yourselves. But you also have to keep each other accountable. And to your point that you said earlier, it's an opportunity for you to be respectful about it. Holding each other accountable is not blaming somebody.
Stop buying all that Starbucks.
See? Why are you going to say that? Holding each other accountable is making sure that everybody's on the same page, right? And you can do that respectfully. And it acts as a reminder, you know? Like, look, we're trying to get here within the next 5 years, or we're going to get we're trying to get here within the next 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, and so you really realize how every decision is going to affect your financial future.
Yeah.
And you don't think about that at a very young age, or maybe a young age of the relationship, until you start really seeing the numbers and you start seeing, okay, what we're trying to achieve.
You know, unfortunately, when you're in a relationship, sometimes there's one person who's a little bit more involved in the finances and there's someone who's not. You know, so as long as you try to come to the table respectfully and with open communication, just let them know, like, look, it would be great if we can kind of get on the same page with our finances, if we could try to pay off this debt. You know, here's kind of what I planned out. You know, maybe come with a plan of attack if you're trying to include someone else who's not very financially savvy. But just being respectful and not placing blame. As long as you're respectful about it and, you know, no one starts to resent the other person, then you should be able to move forward in a more cohesive unit.
And our last tip is to always be willing to learn. And I think going back to the point you just made about having these regular meetings is the opportunity to share information. Like, yo, I just listened to this video, or I read this article, you know, if this is our plan, we can be debt free within the next 5 years if we do this, right? Or we can be debt free within the next 3 years if we consolidate and we pay off this loan first, and then we pay off that loan first. Once you start coming to the table with nuggets of knowledge.
Chicken.
What? Once you come to the table with nuggets of knowledge, then the other person, your spouse, your significant other, now sees that, okay, it's not just us doing this, or it's not just my significant other that's, you know, trying to get me to stop spending money. Like, oh, snap, we can do this. This is possible. We can actually achieve this goal and then move on to the next one. And always be willing to learn, right? Continue to learn from each other, but then share information with one another.
And another idea potentially is if you and your partner have separate accounts, and you know that you kind of spend your money a little bit like water, might be best to maybe transfer all your money that you're investing, that you're going to be saving for the month, that you're going to be paying bills, transfer them over to the person who's a little bit more responsible. Or to an account that you do not have access to, you know, that the other person can pay the bills out of, or that you can set up automatic payments for certain things. And you're left with just the money that you have to spend for the month. You know, just try to come up with ideas so that you and your partner can, like I said, be in a cohesive unit, and no resentment, no arguing, things like that. So if there's little methods that you could come up with, try to figure it out.
So once again, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you being here and watching these videos, and hopefully we're able to provide you with some gems, and hopefully provide you with some tips and just opportunities to just think about some things. We're not financial advisors. We're not stockbrokers.
But we live in this life and we have money to spend.
There you go. And a lot of that has been trial and error, and we continue to learn as we go through our process. So we're just sharing our experiences through our journey, and hopefully that can help you out as well.
Yeah. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Comment down below if you have any ideas or tips to pass along. And keep moving up with the Miclettes.
Moving up, y'all.